Hello, everyone. Welcome back to day 4 of WFS Live. Let's change tack slightly. Let's change continent. In fact, actually, no, let's just stay exactly where we are, because we were hearing from Samuel Eto'o in the last session. If you missed it, don't worry. You've got a chance to watch it back very, very shortly. Let's focus on African football a little bit more, because 10 years ago, we witnessed one of the greatest carnivals of football ever seen, Africa hosting its first FIFA World Cup. It was a resounding success. And now if you look at the players that this continent is producing at this present time, not just in the past with the likes of Samuel Eto'o and Michael Essien, etc., but currently Mo Salah, Sadio Mane, Ashraf Hakimi, Riyad Mahrez, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang all come from this very continent. And in between the federation, the players, you have African clubs and leagues. So this is an area potentially of huge growth, both in terms of profile and economy. But so many questions emerge here. What business model and governance model to pursue? How to innovate, create new revenue streams, what examples from Europe work, which ones don't in a specifically African environment, how important is competitive balance in the leagues, how do you engage fans in person, digitally, and beyond. So this session is entitled How African Clubs Can Better Promote Themselves to be More Commercially Viable, Clubs and Leagues, in collaboration with HEA Sports. So once again, we have some super speakers to give us their insights. They are the CEO and co-founder at HEA Sports, Hicham Amrani, a board member at Ahly SC, Khaled Mortagy, CEO at SC Villa Uganda, Shawn Mubiru, and Chief Spokesperson at Raya Casablanca, Wahbi, and our moderator, African football journalist at SuperSportTV, Usher Komugisha. Usher, some very important topics to be covered here. Really looking forward to your conversation. Over to you.
Well, thank you very much, David. It's a pleasure, and I'm very honored to be here. Thank you for introducing the panel. And first, I would like to go straight to speak to the former CAF Secretary General, who is also with the HEA Sports, Hicham El Amrani. I'm just going to throw you into the deep end. Sorry about that. Please, could you tell us the status quo of African leagues and the clubs? What is the situation right now, in Africa?
Thank you very much, Usher, and the pleasure to be with the esteemed colleagues on this panel today. To answer you in a nutshell, because it's such a huge question, ultimately, as per the FIFA professional report, there's about 830 clubs, out of which 600 are professional on the continent. But from my own experience, and the 120 clubs or so that usually play the Champions League and the Confederations Cup, there's a huge disparity, and that disparity is always there. So there are different layers and different examples. And obviously today we are with the clubs that are at the very top of the African continent, and you can see that whether in terms of the team values that are given. When you look at Ahly, this year's team value is about 32 million euros, I think, and compared to Platinum of Zimbabwe, that could be only about 400,000. The social media follow-up, Al Ahly is almost 30 million people following them, while other clubs in Nigeria might have only 50,000 people following. So there's a great diversity in terms of that, but there has been strong progress. And especially when you look at the latest Confederations Cup and Champions League, going up to 16 teams in the group stage, matches have been more competitive, better performances in general. And I think that also means that there's a better level of governance at the club level, and that governance is also now being diversified. Clubs are not only associations. There will be a fantastic case where I would love to hear Shawn talk about how his club is transforming itself into a trust. And I know that in Morocco, for example, clubs are required now to be limited liability companies and so on and so forth. So there's also a lot of differences and evolutions that take place in terms of model of governance. But I think what is extremely important, having gone through that experience and having launched the club licensing system in 2009 already, 11 years ago, it's important that clubs carry on following the strict requirements of club licensing, whether it comes in terms of administration, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of commercial development, but also clubs, and that's where I'm so happy to be able to hear about Khaled and Saeed. Clubs embrace new and key trends, including fan engagement, how to capture more data to make more sound decisions, using social media promoting women's football, while doing all of that, making sure that the community stays at the heart. So there's a huge disparity, coming back to your question, when it comes to clubs and leagues. But I believe that clubs like Raja Casablanca or Al Ahly or Villa, for that matter, should keep ahead of the train wagon and push others to follow their examples and develop the right governance model.
Well, wow, that was very well explained. I just want to head to Khaled Mortagy, who is a board member at Al Ahly. Of course, this is the most successful club in African football, having won 8 CAF Champions League titles. And my question really is, to what extent would you attach this success to the club's commercial realization as a different impact of consistently winning trophies over the years? Does it help, in any way, really?
Well, thank you, Usher. It's always a pleasure and honor to be around such esteemed guests. I think it's true when you talk about football industry in Africa. You have to look at the most successful club in Africa and the second most successful club in the world, which is Al Ahly, with more than 70 million plus fan base. We have 20 continental trophies, more than 135 trophies all around. So we're talking about history, present, we're talking about future of African football. So by being always present and successful inside this field, it is definitely having the strong impact outside the field as well, which is commercially at that time. So what we try to do is always we increase our fan base, we increase loyalty of the fans, increasing the value of the players, increasing the brand equity, which leads to revenues, increased traffic also on our website and e-commerce, and which all this can generate really more revenues and can turn and generate more sales. All mentioned points leads really to an increase of the value of Al Ahly, which reflects on our broadcasting and sponsorship contracts, because this is one of the main sources of revenues is broadcasting. When you have 80 or 70 million fan base and they always want to watch the Ahly playing, this increase your revenues coming from the broadcasting and the sponsorship. So if I give you like a comparison, in 2004, when we started the sponsorship, when we really started to work on generating revenues from sponsorship, our revenue for 4 years were 50 million pounds, Egyptian pounds, for 4 years from the sponsorship, and it went up to, after 4 years, to 150 million, and back in 2013 it was 250 million. When we took over the board in end of 2017, our contract from the sponsorship only was 500 million, plus almost another 500 million from the broadcast. So we're talking about 1 billion pounds, Egyptian pounds, for 4 years. This can give you the value of the Ahly in the market, and how Ahly is really working to be commercially being able to always remain the number one, because again, there's a huge obligation in contracting players, in also maintaining the club of the century of Africa by winning. And for us, as everybody know, Al Ahly doesn't know except number one. For us, second place is not the best. For us is always number one. Hopefully, our game tomorrow. We've been away almost 7 years now from the African trophy, which we believe is the most loved trophy for our fans. After winning 8 times and 5 times participating in the World Cup, in the FIFA World Cup, I think it's about time, hopefully, to gain, or actually to win, the 9th trophy tomorrow, with the blessings of our great fans and of course of our Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Well, Khalid, I just want to tell you that my name Komugisha means blessing, so maybe.
Well, that's a good point. Thank you for the good eye.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yeah, I just want to go straight to Shawn Mubiru. Shawn, Khalid is talking about almost $63.7 million in sponsorship. I don't want to convert this money into Ugandan shillings, but let me just talk about the sponsorship really in Ugandan football at league level, but also for the clubs. Do you think that it's about the economy of a country when we talk about this? Because it's talking about a club with a million base of 80 million, 80 million people for Al Ahly. And Uganda's population is 44 million, When you look at SC Villa, where do you picture this and also the Uganda Premier League?
Well, thank you, Aisha, and everyone on the panel. Great to be here. Well, first of all, generally, it's a strategic point about sponsorship. Generally, Africa, we tend not to take football as a product in terms of real business. I'll give you a case of Uganda. I became CEO a year ago for Sports Club Villa, champion of the Uganda Premier League, and to look at how football is looked at in Uganda in terms of corporate Uganda, it's really different, and it's going to take a lot of education in terms of getting the business community to understand that football is a business and it can be treated as a product. It's the general thing around almost other African countries, leaving aside the Al-Ahris of this world. But for me, the reason why Uganda is still lagging behind and the other neighbors in East Africa, it's all about organization. It's all about clubs understanding that they must brand themselves. It's all about getting the right experts, doing the right jobs. And if we talk about the numbers, if you compare people who watch the European leagues vis-a-vis the people who watch the local league, you'll see a disparity. You see the few numbers coming into the stadium. But again, it goes back to how football is promoted and branded. So clubs can actually get more sponsorship. And I'm talking about getting to understand first the league, but also the club itself. What are the values of this club? Are you positioning in terms of trying to align it to other businesses in the market? I'll give you an example of a partnership with a few months ago. We wouldn't have gotten it if we had not positioned ourselves in the new governance model of SC Villa as a trust. So we look at a community that we were building at SC Villa as the first point of doing business with the community, at the business community in the sector. So for me, it still goes back to the lagging behind, especially in Uganda, is all about the people at the helm of football clubs, but also in the leagues, the people that are running these products. Because I can look at the league as a property, a club as a brand. So the administrators at club level must understand that a club is a brand that they have to strategically think for, plan for, but also be able to build an incredible organization behind that club. You will gain success sportingly, but you will also gain financials at the end of it all. So without organization, and we cannot rush to the money if we do not build clubs as organizations, professional organizations, and strategically think and plan for these clubs. The end result about those two, organization, governance, you will get the sponsorship. So the biggest problem now we do have, especially in Uganda and most parts of Africa, is about incredible organizing and finding the right models to run these clubs. So before you run for the money and looking at sponsorship, you must be able to understand and appreciate what kind of model you have in place. Can that model be able to give good governance accountability, and transparency. This is what the business communities want to see, want to hear. Because if a person gives you $1 million, the question is, what are you going to do it with? So if you do not have systems in place to be able to manage that money, no one can give you the money. So to answer your question, Aisha, we have to get back to the basics. We have to incredibly build organizations that reflect good governance, accountability, and transparency. And two, hire the experts. Let them think and let them strategically draw a 5-year plan. And then if someone comes, he will ask questions like, what is your plan? Why do you need the money? So I think we will have to learn from Al Ahly and all these other clubs like Raja Casablanca to look at what are they doing better, to be able to create an elite football leagues across the continent. For me, it's not as easy as attracting the money alone, but we should be able and best placed to be able to consume the money and be able to sign good contracts, retain players on the continent. Because you look at the talent drain on the continent, and the question is, how shall we have better leagues if all our best players keep running out of the league? And this goes back to the money. But also, the money is not the problem. The governance and running of these clubs.
Wow, thank you very much, Shawn Mubiru from Sports Club Villa. I just want to go now to Saeed Wahbi, the board spokesperson of Raja Casablanca. And my question is, first of all, congratulations on winning your first trophy since 2013. That must have been a very, very long wait for you. Really, can you just explain to us how difficult or maybe how easy it was for you to attract sponsors when you were not winning the league? I mean, 7 years is a long time. And when you finally won the league, is it going to be easy for you now to speak to some sponsors?
Okay, thank you, Shara. Thank you, Hicham, to invite me in this panel. Good morning, everybody, and welcome in Casablanca. First of all, I would like to introduce the club. Raja Casablanca is founded in 1949. Now we are 72 years old. The Raja Casablanca is the most popular club in Casablanca. We have in all the social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, more than 6 million of fans. These 6 millions, it's representative 15% of the Moroccan population. This is a huge and strong asset that we have. The Raja Casablanca is the first club in Morocco that represent all the African football in the first World Cup in Brazil. We are the first club, the second club after TP Mazembe that achieved the final World Cup in Marrakesh against Bayern of Munich. The Raja Casablanca it's weighted more than 50% of the all Moroccan trophy in Africa. We won more than 10 continental trophy between Champions League, Confederation Cup, Arabic Cup, and something like this. Now, how to be better? This is the question. The question is how to improve, to increase our revenue. If you take your balance, we are the first club in the sponsorship. We have normal for we have more than $3.5 million as sponsorship. This is very high figure in Morocco. But how to do more? Now we are in the way to move from the association and to create its new company, anonymous company. This company will be in the future, in the short future, winning or buying by investor at least 70% of the capital of the club will be by the new investor, and this way And in this way, it's only the way that we have to be in good shape because now the Raja Casablanca, if you want to compete with the high club like Ahly, Zamalek, Tarji, and so on, we need more revenue, and this revenue is coming from the new company that will be created in the short time. And I think now we are looking for the new investor in the club. This club is attractive. This club is popular. This club belonging to the popular population in Morocco. Not only in Casablanca, we have fans in all Morocco. We have fans in all Arabic countries. We have fans in all African countries. And this 6 million is only for the Moroccan people, not the foreign people. And our target is to leverage in this asset and to create and to have new investor to improve and to increase our revenue. This what the vision of the Raja of Casablanca.
Wow, thank you very much for sharing that experience with us. Now back to Hicham El Amrani. You have since created your own sports consultancy company, HEA. When you talk about branding and marketing and all of these conversations with African football stakeholders across the continent, do they seem to understand what's at stake? Do they understand that they have to put in the work, that they have to be serious about branding and marketing, or is it something that they feel the Al Ahlis and the Raja Casablancas of this continent are a step aside, or are they embracing this kind of information and expertise?
Well, not all of them are embracing this kind of expertise. It's all about, first, it starts with the leadership. And I've seen what Al Ahly has been doing and its current chairman with the fantastic work, but also the club that I personally support, Raja Casablanca, since the new chairman came in, how he picks and chooses the right people with the right expertise outside of the passion for football. Now, sometimes you do not need passion for football. You need expertise in legal or accounting or those kind of matter. But I think that's extremely important that at the top, there's a strong wish to either hire people full-time within your club or use external experts when you need them on particular projects. So at the end of the day, I think what we realize is that there needs to be a strong focus on the human capital, because when you look at our continent, there's so much talent, so many brilliant minds, but there needs to be a market created. That market exists. The people, the individuals exist. They work in different companies in different industries, not only in sports or football, but we need that platform where there can be a lot of exchanges, not only nationally speaking, but also on a Pan-African level. You might have an Egyptian professional going to Tunisia to work with a particular club, or somebody from Tanzania going to Uganda, and so on and so forth. So there needs to be that kind of platform with the link as well to the managerial education. And I think some of the clubs did that in the past. They linked themselves with universities, with entities that provide continuing education, so that even themselves, looking at their own administration, they need to empower them. They need to provide them with tools, with know-how, and share practices. So I think that's a very important thing. And I think ultimately also today, when you look at this, the diversity of situations among clubs, and to make sure that there's proper organization, like Mr. Mubiru was saying, and good accountability, I think it's time to have a club platform in Africa where clubs can share their own best practices and share their own examples and so on. Clubs are always connected when they trade players and when they play in competitions, but they're not, in my view, connected enough among their own administrators to get to know each other and get to know their own environment and learn from each other. And I think that, together with the education requirement, is extremely important.
Is it that you're saying the clubs should come among themselves and create this kind of association, not per se as a body, but to really start these conversations? And do they need, for example, to seek permission from the Confederation of African Football, or what exactly are you looking at?
Well, it can be a body, it can be an association, it can be. I'll give you just an example. A few years back, I found myself with Khaled and Mortagy in Cape Town in a club seminar where we gathered about 30 different African clubs. And Khaled explained to us the spirit of the red jersey about Al Ahly, which was a fascinating presentation he made. And at that time, you should see the excitement of people from Tonnerre, Yaoundé meeting Esperance, meeting the Ugandan club, meeting Kaiser Chiefs, while Khaled also could make knowledge exchange and connections with other new clubs that maybe he didn't know. That was like an eye opener. Clubs needs to be together and exchange on a lot of different levels. So I won't get into the political aspect of it, obviously, but I know that administrators and experts have thirst to know about what other clubs are doing. And just remembering that presentation of Al Ahly or some other presentations made stayed in my mind, and I use some of that knowledge to also improve my own work. So I think that there should be a stronger connection among African clubs, not only at the national level, but clubs in general should know their neighbors and whether regional or continental as a whole.
It's interesting you talk about a conference with Khalid in South Africa, because my next question is about Al Ahly hiring Pitso Mosimane, who is highly revered on the African continent, one of the best coaches ever to coach the beautiful game in Africa. Of course, his story with Mamelodi Sundowns is quite obvious, and hopefully tomorrow he'll bring you success, Khalid. But how important has the signing of Pitso Mosimane been in terms of influence of Al Ahly on the African continent? I don't think I remember Al Ahly being spoken about so much in sub-Saharan Africa, because obviously we are unable to watch your league games because, again, that's a whole another conversation. But the social media feedback that you get as Al Ahly from signing a South African, now everyone is following what you do week in, week out. How important is that? And how are you going as a club to milk the situation and try to see how you can expand further your influence on the African continent?
Let me first, echoing on my friend and colleague Hicham Al Amrani, we hope that tomorrow the spirit of the red jersey is going to be our number one player. So we're all optimists about that. Going back to Pitso Mosimane, I just want to give you the strategy, how the board, headed by the legendary Mahmoud Al Khatib, our president, thought in contracting Pitso Mosimane. When we had an amicable agreement with our former coach Rene Weiler to apart, so the vision was to try and find a very world-class coach that he understands Africa, he knows our players, and he also knows the competitors that we're playing against. So when it came to who else in Africa can do that, we definitely number one rise was Pitso Mosimane. Pitso Mosimane, very talented coach. I think he, being now the first African non-Egyptian coach to coach Al Ahly, definitely he deserves this position. I mean, when we looked at Sundowns and how Sundowns have developed the football with the strategy and the mindset and the ideas that Pitso Mosimane has put in this club, I think it gives him the edge to really deserve this position. Again, when we contracted Pitso Mosimane and he came to Egypt, I think to have the president of South Africa salute him and say that although he's a bit not very happy that he left South Africa, but being engaged to the most successful club in Africa and the biggest club in Africa, this is something that made him also happy. So again, can show you the value of Al Ahly club and at the same time the value of Pitso Mosimane. And as you said, since we contracted Pitso Mosimane, we have seen a huge traffic from the Africa and Sub-Sahara really on our website, and trying and following our Ahly club. Again, this is something that will increase our fan base in South Africa with this engagement. I think commercially also we're into Africa. How can we expand the name of Al Ahly club and how can we promote the name of Al Ahly club by maybe doing some sort of cooperation with different clubs by opening academies, because we believe that Africa is the really a treasure for football players. I mean, if you see now, as in the introduction, the biggest clubs, the biggest players and the world class players comes from Africa, but they need to be seen and they need to be sort of exposed. As you said, we have Sadio Mane, we have of course Mo Salah, we have different players from Africa that showed how actually reflected the, the resources there in Africa that needs to be more explored in order to promote these players. So I guess again, going back to Pitso Mosemani, I think it was a very good move from Al Ahly. We hope that tomorrow he's gonna, fulfill the dreams of our fans and win the 9th trophy of the African Champions League. And again, I have full confidence in him, and it was a great approach from our side, and a great vision from the board of Al Ahly club to contract such a world class coach.
Thank you very much, Khalid, for this explanation. My next question is to Saeed Wahbi, and I just want to ask you, as a big club in the Moroccan Botola League, do you sometimes have conversations with television and radio broadcasters? I think Ariadia have the rights in Morocco. And how often do you have a conversation with them to talk about what time your games should be played? Do your sponsor, for example, have a say about the time and when your fans prefer to watch the games? What is it like in Morocco?
If I understand your question, the Raja Casablanca is the first club in Morocco that nominated this spokesman. My role is to be the interface between the club and the media and all the press, not only in Morocco, but in all African press and mainly the Egyptian press when Raja Casablanca play against Egyptian clubs. This nomination is, first of all, to respect the media, because the media need some information from Raja Casablanca as the most popular club in Morocco, and the media needs to sell. If you want to sell, they need the information from Casablanca. And my target is to declare, to give all the press the official information, and mainly the information that they broke all the Facebook information that is the fake news. This is our first target. The second target that we have is to prepare, as you told you in the first, is to prepare the club to move from the association to the company. If you want to move the club from association to the company, we need to improve the image of the club, to increase the brand awareness of the club, to show for the new investor that Rajat Casablanca is with good governance, good structure, good vulnerability, and because, as you know, Usher, that the new way is to put the club with assets, with new investor, with new financial, with new capital. Because we have now, we get our limit for all, the limit for sponsorship, the limit for this TV Moroccan transfer, the limit of everything. And
Sorry, Saeed. I'm very sorry to cut you short. We have a few seconds on the clock, and we have to keep time. Sorry, we'll continue this conversation. But thank you so much to all of you gentlemen for taking up your time to discuss everything about African clubs and leagues. And we promise that your information and advice has been noted for everyone on the continent that is seeking for knowledge and from the biggest clubs and everyone. So thank you so much, all of you, Hicham, El Amrani, for organizing this. We'll be contacting you very soon for more of this, please.
Indeed, Usher, great conversation. Just very briefly summing up from Shawn, we got a sense of really some of the basics that need to be taken care of. Clubs have to brand themselves, how football's promoted and branded, get more sponsorship. But what are the values of the club? And that's proved fruitful already for SC Villa Uganda. From side, the drive for revenue, looking at investment possibilities, but they do need to, everyone needs to work on improving the image and their brand awareness. But as Usher was saying, great to see you back on the trophy trail as well with Raja Casablanca. Hicham, with some really good suggestions, I thought, focusing on the human capital, so many brilliant minds that really need to be harnessed. You need to create a market and also maybe kinship and partnership between African clubs. Get to know your neighbours. Is there some shared best practice that can be achieved there? And from Khaled also, really interesting, the move you made. It's a big move, isn't it? Bitsa Mosimane, one of the most well-known names in South African football as a manager, how he knew the players and he knew the rivals already. The guy's got talent, and already you're seeing the benefits of that in terms of traffic to your website and more besides. And again, let's see if he can win another trophy for you as well. It feels like, everyone is around trophies. It's in their world right now. So let's see if you can make good on that. Great conversation. Thank you very much indeed for guiding us through it, Usher, as well. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
So on we go on day 4 of WFS Live, and we're going to be switching continents next. We're moving from Africa to Asia as fans there call for creative engagement strategies. Really interesting topic this, and we'll be discussing it in detail next.